Zoom logistics before she does. You do have a couple of options. You have a Q&A that you can enter in questions, and then we'll be getting to those as we can. Our students may be helping with that. And I will let Mrs. Chekowitz take over the show.
Hello and good evening, and thank you so much for joining us. Transition to Saline Middle School. If any of you were Woodland families out there, hello, I can't wait to see your kiddos again. And for those of you who are Harvest and Pleasant Ridge families or new families to Saline, I can't wait to meet your child. So welcome. We're glad that you're here joining us tonight. And now is the time. Oh, can you go back 1 second just to our transition? Now is the time to take a collective big exhale, because I know you're all thinking the exact same thing. I can't believe it's already time to start talking about my child going to middle school. Where did the time go? I know, because we're thinking the same thing. It seems like we've just started off the school year, and here we are talking about next year. We were able to bring back a lot of really fun and exciting activities for our students that we are also looking forward to having next year, like our student staff basketball game. We're preparing for Career Day right now. This year, our teachers our PTA planned a snowball dance for students. So there are tons of exciting activities that await your student when they come and transition to Saline Middle School. All right, so today what's on our agenda and on the docket is we are going to meet our front office team. We'll be talking about all of the student support teams that we have here in the office. We'll talk about what's similar and what's different between 5th grade and 6th grade. We'll be reviewing our PBIS here at Saline Middle School. And we will also revisit our district commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We'll talk with our counselors, and we'll hear from our teachers about Summit Learning and Google Classroom. We'll talk about clubs, organizations, and activities that are all available for your student to explore here at the middle school. We'll also talk about a change that you'll experience when you come into Saline Middle School, because we have a BYOD policy, which is bring your own device. So here, all of our students use devices, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about an incredible opportunity to welcome our incoming 6th graders in August, called Web, where everybody belongs. We'll follow some important dates and how to follow us on social media. So get ready. We've got a full docket ahead.
So as Mrs. Chekowitz has already introduced herself as the proud principal here of Saline Middle School, I am the proud assistant principal here at Saline Middle School, and I'm going to be introducing some staff around the building in addition to those who are on the call with us this evening, webinar call, whatever you want to call this. So we have Mr. Jones here. He is a dean of students here at Saline Middle School, and also Ms. Parrington. We also have Ms. Johnston, our administrative assistant here in the front office, and Ms. Renner, who is our building coordinator. Both of those and Mrs. Fordick, they are running the show behind the scenes up in our main office, and we're very grateful to have an amazing office staff. We also have Mr. Lupi, who is a community liaison. He is not a police officer anymore. He is a retired officer, but he is helping us from a standpoint of bridging some of our community partnerships and Saline Middle School. We have Mrs. Chambers, who is on this call, and Mr. Stimmick, who is also on this call. And they are our amazing, amazing counselors. We're lucky to have them here at Saline Middle School. And we have 2 social workers here in the building, Mrs. Smeltzer and Mr. Benedict. Also on this call are 2 very proud 6th grade teachers. We have Mr. Pete here and Mr. Foster. You're not going to find any more personality out of a teacher than the 2 of them. So we're very grateful to have them here with us this evening. We also have Mrs. Hervey, who pops in and out of our building as our district nurse. Jay Grossman, who is our interim director of technology. And then Brian Puffer, who is our director of community education. And although Mr. Grossman should be on the call, I believe. Yep, he is. Oops, sorry about that.
Well,
Mr. Puffer was not able to join us this evening, but he has replaced himself with one of the most magical people in community education, and that is Lee Soberaro. Soberaro. Sorry if I botched that. My apologies. Thank you. I said it 3 times before this call and then still made a mistake. But hey, we're at the middle school here, and that's where we learn from our mistakes and we continue to grow. So it's kind of perfect.
All right. And here at Saline Middle School, we are very proud of our incredible staff that you got to meet, but we are most proud of our students who impress me every single day. And tonight on this call, we have some student volunteers that are going to give you a little window into what it is like to be a student at Saline Middle School, and they'll be able to answer your questions from a student perspective. So I'd like to welcome Maggie Kaiser, M. Habrecht, and Kate Gilchrist. We're so glad to have you on the call. All right, some of the things that we're going to talk about is the difference between 5th grade and 6th grade and what is covered and what things that you have to look forward to. So one of the issues that comes up is in 5th grade, you're working on everyday math. And when you transition to 6th grade, we also have a 6th grade everyday math. That is our district standard 6th grade curriculum. There is, and many of you will be taking a math placement test, there's an opportunity for pre-algebra, but please know that that is a doubly accelerated class, and it is really only designed for classes where our 6th grade math program just doesn't meet the needs of those students. It is a fast-moving, quick-paced class. There is a lot of homework in that class, and it is a high-level course. It is not appropriate for all of our students, only a small percentage of our students. In 5th grade, you do workshop and read alouds for ELA, and you will also do workshop and read alouds in 6th grade, or your student will. We have Project Lead the Way and exciting science opportunities in 5th grade, and in 6th grade, Project Lead the Way and exciting science opportunities. We have recess in both 5th and 6th grade. A lot of people wonder when they come to the middle school, is there recess? And there is recess for 6th grade. In 5th grade, I know many of you look forward to 5th grade camp. And when you come to 6th grade, we do have a large overnight class can look forward to participating in. There is a difference in the expected and level of independence for that class trip, as our current trip, which is to Chicago, requires an overnight stay in a hotel, meaning that students are staying in a hotel room overnight without parents in the room with them. So there is a heightened level of expectation of independence and the ability to manage one's own self-care while in a room at night. Also, you can look forward to opportunities in band, orchestra, or choir for both 5th and 6th grade. Here's a difference. In 5th grade, students sit by teacher with their classmates at lunch. In 6th grade, you have an opportunity to choose where you'd like to sit at lunch. We do have a 6th grade area, but there are many, many tables to pick from, and you can select which friends you'd like to sit with. In 5th grade, you run on the elementary schedule. Your school starts at 8:51 and ends at 3:44. It's a earlier, kids. You're going to have to get up a little earlier here at Saline Middle School because school starts at 8 a.m. and it ends at 2:54. Lindsay, I can't hear you. Are you speaking?
I can go ahead
Yep.
and jump.
No, we're good. Sorry, Tara. I was on a roll and didn't unmute myself. Apparently, I need a little more information on how to run Zoom again. So my apologies, everyone. This is a map of our building. And while some people may get overwhelmed with the size of our building and navigating it, it does become very easy within the first couple of weeks. We do ask that 6th graders stay in the front of our building on the carpet. We always say 6th graders on the carpet. Our 6th grade section is right where the front of the building and the office is, and it's split into two sides, the red side and the blue side. And students stay on the carpet throughout all of their core content. The only time they leave the carpet is when they are going to electives, which are typically in the back of the building. Our art room is somewhere in the middle, but the gymnasium and the music wing, and then our world cultures class that we'll be talking about, those are in the back of the building. And so for the first couple of weeks, our sixth grade teachers are awesome, and they actually hand deliver our sixth graders so they don't have to take the long journey from the front of the building to the back of the building. And so there's lots and lots of support to navigate. In addition, you may be thinking, okay, well, where do I drop off? And we will be getting more information about that. It's also indicated on this map. But the very first day of school and for days to come, the first couple of weeks, we have teachers that are out in the hallway constantly trying to help students navigate up to the carpet area. The first day of school, we'll be talking about our web orientation, but we're all wearing web t-shirts as well. So adults are easily identifiable to students, and we're stepping in and helping them navigate. So when we have an open house here in the spring, please join us, and don't get overwhelmed if the building seems confusing, because the kids pick up on it rather quickly.
All right, so here at Saline Middle School, we have 3 regular lunch periods. The first lunch starts at 10:34 to 11:09. I know that seems awfully early, but our school day starts an hour earlier than what you're used to, as does our lunchtime. So that first lunch is primarily our 8th graders. Our second grade lunch is split between 6th grade and 7th grade. It begins at 11:09 and runs through 11:44. And our third grade is also split between 6th grade and 7th grade. And it begins at 11:45 and runs till 12:20. And with those 2 lunches, the reasons that they are split that way is because while half of our 6th grade go into the cafeteria for lunch, the other half begin their elective times. We share our elective teachers. As you know, many of our music teachers with Heritage School, and so they run their electives here first and then go to Heritage School and teach their electives over there. And then third lunch, they swap. So if you went to the cafeteria first for second lunch, this time you go to electives, and then the group that was in electives will come in and have lunch. You'll see a link, and this slideshow will be available on our website so that you can access it. And that link takes us to our food service program. And there you can make deposits as students use their lunch account in a debit service. And you can also fill out the free and reduced lunch request form. So we have all of those opportunities available to you, available right on that website.
Also here at Saline Middle School, we have positive behavioral interventions and supports. That's what PBIS stands for. And our expectations here at the middle school are to be respectful, be responsible, and be kinder than necessary. So we are currently working through revamping how we do PBIS, but some of the things that we currently have in place and will continuously do is nominating students for upholding these pillars of success. And as you will hopefully see in the future, students get nominated by their teachers, a little blurb gets written about them, they get posted outside of our cafeteria. So if you are in the building, take a look at our respectful, responsible, and kinder than necessary boards. And then they also get a letter sent home from administration. In addition, we have just started a PBIS club for students to participate in, so we can get their buy-in on following the expectations and getting that positive in place here at the middle school. So we are constantly working and growing on both academics and behavior here at the middle school, because we want them to enter our building and leave our building better people than they started. And so we do that through our PBIS model. We do that through explicit instruction on behavior expectations in the classroom and at a building-wide level.
All right. Saline Area Schools has a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I know you're familiar with our DEI statement through Heritage School, but I am going to take a moment and read it and try to break it apart and talk about this for just a moment. Saline Area Schools support students in becoming ethical and responsible citizens. Students demonstrate attribute when they see beyond themselves to the needs of others, contribute to their community, promote social justice, take responsibility for the environment, and demonstrate respect. In the first part of that statement, it refers to these attributes. That is part of our Saline area schools compass, which we also call our portrait of a graduate. So each of those attributes are what we want our students to take with them into the world when they leave us from Saline area schools. So that's what that is referring to as our compass. Our DEI statement goes on to say, Saline area schools embraces diversity and inclusion as it strives to provide a variety of perspectives for students to consider. All students in Saline area schools should be able to see themselves in the curriculum we offer. Further, all students should be able to reflect and consider alternative viewpoints that exist within our society. In order to provide this, the district encourages the use of resources from different backgrounds and topics. If a student or family is sensitive to any particular topic that might arise throughout the school year, they are encouraged to discuss this matter with the teacher, and an alternate activity will be provided. Thank you.
All right, this is an opportunity for, oh, by the way, I'm Mr. Stimick. I'm one of the counselors here. Opportunity here for our web leaders to shine. So Mrs. Gentner earlier spoke about the middle part of the day when the sixth graders leave the carpeting and they enter the world of seventh and eighth grade. And that part of the day includes lunch, but also there are specials or electives. So rather than have me talk about what that's like, all of these three fine individuals have endured the music other rotation program while they've been here. And it can be very confusing on paper, but the students figure it out very quickly. So Kate or Maggie or Em, would you like to take it over from here and talk about what music options sixth graders are going to have? All right, Em, go for it.
Hello. So music, same thing as heritage. You have band, orchestra, and choir as your options. You're going to take one of those three. I personally am a band kid. I play percussion. I know people in both orchestra and choir, and everyone loves it. It's the same. I think they all have the same teachers. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the schedule isn't so confusing. It'll seem difficult. You'll go through it. Your days are kind of different, but your teachers will help you through it the first few days, and then you catch on really quickly. It always seems complicated, but then you're doing the same thing all year. So you get through it and you're done, and it's easy breezy, just like every other day.
Thank you, Maggie. And in terms of the other rotation, one of these options was not available when these three eighth grade web leaders went through sixth grade, but from what you can recall, either Kate or Maggie, could you speak about what these kids will experience when they aren't going to music?
So for PE, it's pretty much like your heritage PE, because like you'll still do like the team things, and you'll still do the stretching exercises. It just, you might have a different teacher. Well, not might, you will have a different teacher, but it's pretty much the same thing. And then art, still art. So nothing new about that. Kate, do you want to talk about world cultures?
Of course, yeah. So we didn't have world cultures as a class when I was in sixth grade, but I have heard a lot about it from my little brother, who is actually in sixth grade right now, and he really loves it. All of the electives here are really incredible, but I just have to go back to the music electives because we just have the most incredible music program here at Saline Middle School. I mean, we have these incredible caring teachers, and we also have such amazing resources. We have private practice rooms, and we have like this amazing auditorium, which I'm sure you've probably seen if you're in music right now, but it's really just incredible, all of the resources and all of the time and care that teachers put in.
And right now we do have a student who is answering a question in the Q&A, but it is applicable to the conversation we're having right now. And that is, can students who took choir in 5th grade switch to band or orchestra in 6th grade? And they absolutely can. So you are not locked into any music choice really ever. If you want to switch and try something else in the middle school, you are welcome to do so. And we do have 6th graders who get here and they had their mind set on one music, and then they say, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. And we do our very best to accommodate changes. So please keep that in mind. Whatever you're taking in 5th grade right now, you're not locked into for 6th grade.
And Mrs. G, if I can just throw something out there, a lot of times Mr. Stimmick and I, oh, hi, I'm Tara Chambers, one of the counselors. Mr. Stimmick and I will, particularly when working with new families, will ask what they need to do to select their electives. And that's one of the great things about 6th grade is you don't have to do anything. Your student will just show up and the teacher will help parcel them out on that first day in terms of if they're choosing band, choir, orchestra, and go over the rotation. There's parents that you need to fill out or complete or do in regards to that piece, because we all do it on site.
Thank you for adding that. Are there any other comments about electives before we go to our elective video? Oh, there is a question. So it's, is world culture learning about different cultures? Yes, it is.
I can add to that just a little bit. It's actually really exciting. So they learn about different culture and different regions around the world. So just last week I was in there and students were presenting on all about the Lebanese culture and what happens in Lebanon and what kind of animals live there, what kind of food is eaten there. And then another time I had gone in there and they were learning about, I think they were learning about Argentina and some South American areas. So it was really exciting. So they learn about different cultures. They learn about different geography, about food and animals and what nature is like in that area. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Thank you for adding that. And I don't see any other Q&As right now. So we're going to go ahead and watch the video that highlights our electives. thank you for watching that video. And there we go.
All right, so when you think about scheduling, parents, I know that you're familiar, if you've been in the district, with the parent input form. We've been doing this a long time in the spring. So for 6th grade, we will also have a parent input form, which Mrs. DeGrand will send out in her memo to families in April. That will give you an opportunity to tell me a little bit about your learner, the kind of environment that they learn best in, if there are any concerns with students or things. But please know, as you come to the middle school, we have many, many factors to consider. And so we cannot always comply with requests, but we do want to make sure that you know that what you put in those forms are absolutely read, and we do our very best to accommodate when we can. But again, we have a lot of parameters that we're working under, and so there are no promises that can be made. Also, look forward to that 5th grade placement test for math that we talked about, and we will gather some teacher input in addition to the placement test. So there's kind of a 3-tiered system when we take a look at who that high-level pre-algebra math is appropriate for. There's a placement test to make sure that the students have all the foundational skills mastered and that they are ready to go on to that level course. There's also our NWEA testing that take a look at the foundation levels, and then teacher input in terms of the work habits and performance that are required for such a demanding and rigorous class. And then the last piece I will ask you about is your summit interest, is the interest in the summit program or the Google platform. So in a few minutes, I'm going to turn things over, and you're going to learn a little bit about what is our Google Classroom platform and what is our Summit platform. How are they alike and how are they different, and which one might be best for your student? They both are outstanding, and they both have outstanding teachers. And we'll turn things over to Mr. Pete.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mr. Pete. I'm excited to welcome everyone to the middle school next year. So I am a Summit Learning Classroom teacher, and I'm joined by Mr. Foster, my amazing friend and colleague, and he teaches using Google Classroom. So this slide here is just showing the similarities between the two, because that's the reality. If you were to enter either classroom on any given day, for the most part, you would think they look very similar. We teach the same content. When students come to the middle school, they're going to have one of 13 amazing teachers, and we plan together, we plan similar projects, we plan similar units. The big difference between the two is simply the delivery system, how students are accessing that content. You can go ahead, next slide. So there are a lot of similarities and very few differences that we will touch on once we get more into the Summit Learning platform. I think on the next slide, Mr. Foster is going to start by talking about what is in a Google Classroom.
Hey, everyone out there. Welcome to Transition Night. I dusted off my old virtual learning classroom tonight, my old Zoom studio, to join you. So happy to be here. Mr. Pete and I were 2 of 13 total 6th grade teachers. We have a really nice split between those that teach using the Google Classroom platform and then those that teach with Summit Learning. I am one of about half or so of the teachers that use the Google Classroom platform. It's what a lot of your students are potentially using already at Heritage. So I'm just going to kind of pop through a couple of things, and I'd like to give Mr. Pete a little bit more time than I'm going to give myself, because I know that the Summit Learning platform is for sure new to all of you. So on our next slide is going to be just kind of what a student will see when they open the Google Classroom platform. It's organized by class, very user-friendly. If a student were to click on one of these icons here, they're then going to be taken into that class within the platform. On our next slide, if I were to click, let's say, the writing tab and the writing class, this is actually what our current Google Classroom looks like for our writing class within our team. Each one of those is either a set of material, something that the students need or something that the students will view. And then there's also assignments that are in there too. Those assignments link up with Google products such as Google Docs and Sheets and Slides. On the teacher side of everything, we have access to kind of scroll through all of the students' projects and writing assignments and whatever that may be. And I know that's a big similarity with Summit as well too. Having access to student work and having the ability to go in and provide feedback live to the student, and then they can see that feedback, make any kind of changes that they need. And that's a big similarity with both platforms for sure. On our next slide, and again, I don't want to take too long with Google because I think a lot of you are familiar with this already. But we took a poll and just kind of asked, what students like about Google Classroom. What are those key features that they really prefer, or you shouldn't even say prefer, but that they enjoy to use. They mentioned that a lot of them were using it at Heritage. So they came in kind of knowing the process already. Google does keep things really organized. As you saw, once you get into, that main screen, you're just a click away from entering whatever specific class that you would like. The third bullet point, a lot of the electives will use Google Classroom. So it can be kind of a spot where you not only have your main core subjects, but also the electives too. There are reminders set for you if there's a certain assignment that's due. Like with Summit, and I Summit has that too. Another one here that's just like Summit though, you're going to have access to all of your materials if you're out sick or if you're traveling or whatever's happening. If you're out of school, you've got access to all of these materials. And then of course the easy compatibility with Docs and Slides and Sheets, all of those Google products just kind of, they kind of move their way right on in really easily. The last slide here, just some projects and just some classroom photos and just some things that we're doing. The main thing that we would like to project definitely about both platforms, and you're about to hear all platforms don't drive the instruction. The teachers and the students. So we are using these platforms that involve technology that give students the access to some things that they need through technology. The teachers and the students are very much pushing things along with all sorts of mini conferences and feedback sessions and all of those things. So really is a traditional classroom, whether you're with Google or Summit. We just happen to be using technology and the Chromebooks. Mrs. Chekowitz mentioned that 6th grade is a bring your own device and bring your own computer or Chromebook. So we utilize those things. So that's a little bit about Google. Any questions, definitely reach out. I can hit the Q&A a little bit while Mr. Pete's moving through Summit, even if you'd like, or we can wait until the end. But going to kick it over to Mr. Pete, and he's going to talk to everybody about Summit Learning.
Thanks, Mr. Foster. I think you said it like perfectly when you said that the students and the teachers are driving the instruction, because that really is very true. If you look at this slide, it looks very similar to the project slide that Mr. Foster showed just 2 slides ago. We are hands-on with our learning. We are constantly planning with one another, figuring out how we can not only meet the needs in our classroom, but just 6th grade as a whole. So I also don't want to take credit for making this presentation, because I know Kate and Maggie had part in this in their last couple of years, because last week we actually went to Heritage and we spoke with all the 5th grade classrooms and we talked to them about these 2 learning platforms. So everything you're hearing now, the students in 5th grade also have heard this last week, so you can have a better conversation. So projects are one of the 3 main pillars of what like Summit is composed of. And typically Summit always ends their units with some type of project or application. So we're doing daily lessons led by teachers where in the end they're building. In the upper right-hand corner, that is an example of a miniature golf hole. So students in math class, they were working through finding area, surface area, volume. And at the end of the unit, they took a very traditional math test, something that you've probably seen in 5th grade or their entire education. But in addition to that, they're taking those skills and they're also applying it to some type of end of unit project. So that's what you see here. In the upper left-hand corner is an example of a board game that students made at the end of their expressions and equations unit. In the bottom left-hand corner is a Earth model for one of their science units. These projects are not unique to Summit. Other teachers in Google Classroom also incorporate some of these exact same projects, but the difference is this is like the end piece to our units in a Summit classroom. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So if a student were to come into class on any given day, they would have access to our lessons digitally or the resources digitally. I think a misconception is that when a student is in a Summit learning classroom, they are on a computer learning through videos all day long. And that is very far from the truth. I'll talk about that piece of the day here in a second, but it's a really small part of our day. These are all teacher-led lessons. So in my math class, for example, it looks very traditional. A student would come into the room, we would have an activity, we would take notes on paper, very little time on their computer. At the end of class, they have access to a recap of like video lessons from that day, and they have digital homework they could complete, or they can choose to do it on paper and turn it in. But all of these are daily checkpoints that are going to lead to the end of our unit. So in social studies right now, this is our current unit. And this is something that other sixth grade teachers are doing also, but they've been learning about urbanization, and they've been learning about cities around the world that are very densely populated. So we've been talking about that in daily lessons. In their end of unit project is they've actually chosen a city around the world, and they're trying to figure out a way to keep it and make it sustainable in the year 2100. So they're finding solutions to current issues in urbanized cities. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So this really is the big difference. This is what a student sees when they enter the Summit Learning platform. This is something we call the playlist. This is everything that a sixth grade student should know before they leave for seventh grade. And it's kind of broken down into two main rows. So if you see at the very top, it says sixth grade math Pete. That is that top row where it says math units. That is what the students do with their teacher on a daily basis. It looks very traditional, teacher-led lessons working towards an end of unit math assessment and end of unit project. But the big difference between a Summit Learning classroom and a Google Classroom is what's underneath it. It's called a power focus area. We have about a 45-minute period of each day where students can work through a menu of resources to try to master a piece of content. So for example, right now, my students are working on, we just started a percentages unit. A student might come into sixth grade already knowing a lot about percentages. So in this focus area, they don't have to listen to me talk about, give lessons, hour at a time about different disciplines when it comes to percentages. They can go through those resources, they can submit some work, and they can request something called a content assessment. If they master that content assessment, they can go ahead and they can advance the next piece of material. So what we're doing in class then is we're still talking about those same ideas. We're trying to apply them to a real world context. So their end of unit assessment is a lot of story problems, and it's using percentages. And then at the end of the unit, they're doing this discount tax and tip project where they're trying to find coupons and buy items off of a wish list. So they're being able to use that information and apply it to a real world setting. So that is the big difference, is that second row is where students can self-pace themselves in that work. And go ahead and go to the next slide. So this is what a typical platform would look like, and it's really good for students and parents because it's color coded. And when you see something that's not green, it means that a student has feedback from their teacher, something they need to fix. So if you look at that top ELA row there where it says projects, the ELA teacher might have taught something on text features. I think they do like a storyboard for a movie in text features, but that's their final project. But building up to that, they had lessons about text features, and they had to submit something, and the feedback from the teacher is that they needed to go back and revise something. So that's like a color-coded warning for a student that says you didn't meet the requirements of this assignment. Let's go back in, fix it so that you're ready for that end of unit project. Now, if you look at where it says science, in that second row, you'll see something that says engineering, and then it gets cut off, and then it's red. That is a focus area. That is something they would work on during their SDL time. And that blue line going down the center of the screen is just something to keep the students on pace. If that turns red, It doesn't go against the student's grade until the end of the trimester when we report grades, but it's kind of just an alert system for students and for parents that they're off pace on something. And if they want to keep pace with what they need to know by the end of the year, that they should prioritize that as an assignment. And then go ahead and go to the next screen. So we don't report grades into PowerSchool when we use the Summit platform until the very end of the trimester, because Summit grades are updated on a daily basis. So we have this tab, it's a progress tab. And when they pass one of those focus area assessments, it instantly shows up in this. And we always warn students before the end of the trimester to make sure that they have nothing red on their platform, or they go back and make revisions on everything. But this updates in real time as they accomplish things throughout the course of the year. And then another great thing about Summit that I know a lot of other teachers do that don't use a Summit platform, but when you're in a Summit classroom, we have a scheduled time where we'll meet with every student individually, usually once about every 2 weeks. And we're able to do this because of that SDL time. Students are able to work independently through that menu of resources. Maybe they're watching me from a recorded math video, or they're playing a game to help them with their 50 capitals. But during that time, when they're working through their computer, I'm able to pull students individually, and I can ask them about, their basketball game, or I can ask them about their red checkpoint or what they need help with. And I have that time set aside to work with those students one-on-one to make sure that they're keeping pace with the classroom and that there's nothing else distracting them from their schoolwork or just in life in general. And then the last piece is, and I know every class does this, but it's a part of the Summit platform, is we know that school is more than just math and reading. There are a lot of soft skills that we learn through school about responsibility and being able to reflect and having a growth mindset. So at the beginning of the year, all students in 6th grade are assigned to a Habits of Success course, and we do different activities and get to know you things to help incorporate those. And then we're constantly reminding the students of these 16 habits throughout the course of the school year. And then I know this is really quick and you might have some questions. So just know that if you do have questions, you can reach out to me at any time. Have a conversation with your child about which platform is best. They will be getting the same material. They can't make a wrong decision. All of the 6th grade teachers are phenomenal and have students' best interest at heart. So it's really a matter of your preference as parents and as students about what you think would be a best fit for you.
There is a couple of questions in the Q&A that have been answered by our wonderful students that were in regard to either Summit or Google. And one was, which platforms are used in high school? Is there an advantage to picking one over the other for future years, or is it purely students' preference? So Em did a great job responding and saying high school is based more like on Google Classroom. Summit is not used in high school, so that is correct. But the advantages of Summit or Google Classroom moving forward all depend on the student's unique style of learning. And I couldn't agree more. As both Mr. Pete and Mr. Foster have indicated, they are doing things very similar, just a difference in technology and a little bit more just a different approach, but the same content. So you're never going to lose with either choice. And that's what we also want to indicate as well. And then if a student is in pre-algebra, can they still participate in Summit? Absolutely. So Mr. Pete currently is teaching pre-algebra on the Summit platform, but we also offer pre-algebra off of the Summit platform using Google Classroom. And then if I pick Summit, will I have to use Google Classroom for electives? Yes, you do. So all of our elective teachers are operating on Google Classroom to put out their curriculum when there is that need. And I don't see, there's 4 open questions. What is the purpose of having 2 different platforms? Why not just have one? The difference is right now we were piloting something about, I think 6 years ago, right, Mr. Pete?
Yeah.
And there was a growing interest in it, so we kept it alive. And so we are always looking at providing different opportunities for kids to meet their unique learning styles. And that was able to stay on here at Saline Middle School. And then, can a student play multiple instruments? That is a great question for our music department. As of right now, I think students identify one instrument that they're wanting to play, but I do know there's some fluctuation. And you would just work with your band or orchestra teachers to take care of that. And then Let's see if there were any other that popped up. If we choose Summit at first, could we change to Google Classroom in the middle of a semester? That is pretty hard to do. There are always some unique circumstances, but really what you start with is what we would like to keep, because if you are choosing to go from Google Classroom to Summit, you're also promoting and wanting a change in your placement teacher. And what you'll find classroom teachers here at Slane Middle School, they create a community and they create a team and a family, and you will more than likely not want to leave that team or community.
I'm going to jump in here with this one. This is Mrs. Chekowitz. We truly staff based on what students want and what families want. So if someone changes their mind, that can create quite a tricky problem for us to solve, because we have to see which classrooms are available in the other platform, and there may not be space available. And B, we also know that due to the numbers of what people requested, that is what those teachers have been assigned to teach for their class for the year. So truly, your choices really do matter. And when people make a decision that maybe that wasn't the right choice for them, we work really, really hard to see if we can make your hopes and dreams come true. But ultimately, we have staffed our building based on your requests.
And I do see a few more questions in the Q&A, and they are all being addressed by some of our panelists in writing. There is one question related to IEPs, and if students have IEPs, when do they get pulled out of class? Please note that we are following all IEPs here at Slane Middle School, and depending on your students' needs and what they need as far as resource room services and or teacher consultant services or ancillary services, those get worked out with both your case manager that'll be assigned in August, in addition to the IEP team, to see what needs what the needs are, and then how programming can be utilized to, make sure those needs are being met. And it looks like everything else is being answered. And if not, we will get to it at the end.
Mrs. G, could I step in for a second?
Of course.
I just wanted to say Kate Gilchrist would like to answer a question posed about whether or not any of the students on our panel would like to talk about Summit or their take. And Kate said she'd be willing to answer this question live.
Yeah, I'd be glad to do so. I know me and Maggie were both in Summit together, and I have to say, I absolutely loved it. In 8th grade, I switched to Google Classroom, and I really have to say, you do learn the exact same things. Kids in Summit and Google Classroom are friends, and you talk about your projects. It's really not some big divide between the kids. In both ways, it's really a great learning environment no matter what you do, and it's just a really great way no matter what you.
Hey, Kate, you got another direct question because you are a superstar right now. Why did you switch?
I switched really just because I had more of my friends in Google Classroom and I wanted to be in classes with them. It was no problem that I had with Summit at all. Really, the two platforms are much the same. It wasn't even that big of a transition from the 7th to 8th grade Summit to Google Classroom switch.
All right. Thank you so much, Kate. So here at the middle school, this is where it gets a little tricky. We're switching some gears here about access to clubs, organizations, special activities, and sports. So 6th grade is still within community education. And Lee, you jump in whenever you want, and you can cut me off if you need to. But the difference is in 6th grade, they can still participate in certain sports with 7th and 8th graders, such as like our football team, but they register through community education. And so we have a lot of offerings here at 6th grade athletics, but they're through community ed. And then 6th grade clubs, organizations, and special activities are very lucky to have lots of clubs and organizations, lots of special activities, but the process for sports in itself goes through community education. Lee, would you like to cover any of that, or did I do it okay? All right, any questions about that before we move on? I don't see any. All right. So like I said, we have lots of offerings, and all of those offerings for athletics do go through community education. There are 3 links at the top, or 2 links
Lindsay,
at the
I'm
top of
sorry.
the
I was having
slide.
trouble figuring my microphone out. My name's Lee Sabario. I'm with the Saline Community Education crew. And yeah, there's a list of the offerings through community education. Up at the top left of the slide there, you will see the community education link, and that will contain an overview of all the programs that are offered. Also up at the top, if you're not already familiar with it, is our LEO link. That's and that's the registration software that we use. And our LEO website has a bunch of the current offerings. Like Lindsay was saying, the asterisked sports that you see across country, for instance, wrestling, those are sports in which the 6th graders will be participating with the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teams. But again, as Lindsay was saying, they do have to register though through Saline Community Education. So thanks. And then if you wanted to go to the next slide when you're all done.
Yep. There are a couple questions in the Q&A. So it says, so sports and community ed are clubs so sports are community ed and clubs are not. It depends, like junior theater, that is through community education, but most of our clubs are housed here at Saline Middle School and have advisors that are usually on staff, or they're a parent volunteer. So hopefully that answers that question. And then the swim, is that a Saline Middle School team or is that a Saline club team? That is a club team. And Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, is that running through community education or is that outside as the Saline swim team?
I am going to suggest to get a hold of community education on that one. Right? That's beyond my area of expertise. But if we can, Brian Puffer asked if we could post for the community his email address so that if there are questions regarding things like that, they can contact, or feel free to call the community education office and we'll have answers for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then this is another opportunity that community education provides. And this is, Lee, did you want to talk to this one or did you want me to?
Sure. I'm happy to give a bit of information. If you look in the top right there, registration does not begin until March 1st. So we will have registration available on March 1st. I believe that's on LEO again that we discussed briefly on the last slide. This is just a great opportunity to meet middle school teachers, get a look at what the building looks like, tackle locker combination problems that might come up, and just a great way to kind of get ahead of the game. Do want to just make sure that folks know that the space is limited to the first 90 students.
No one who has come to the Bridge to Six program has complained about it after or during. They do have a good time and they do have a sense of relief after going through the program, just to get acclimated within the building and, figure out a few things before the school year starts. So it's a great program. It's typically run by teachers within our district as well, if not specific 6th grade teachers. So it's pretty awesome.
All right, so you heard a lot about 2 different learning platforms, and those are all accessible on devices. So we are a bring your own device district. So we do ask that students come to us with a device, and we here at the school district can support multiple types of devices. We can support Apple or PC or Chromebook. However, all devices need to have a keyboard. We are unable to support devices like iPads because their operating system accesses information differently than a traditional computer does. So I have with us Mr. Jay Grossman, if you're here, and he can talk a little bit about choosing those devices. I'll turn things over, but I do want to say one thing. We can access a lot of different devices. We can support different devices, but it's important to remember that these are 6th graders. And so devices come in a range of different cost points. And 6th graders sometimes make mistakes. Sometimes they're dropped or snacked on or spilled on or crumbled on or Christmas keyed on. All of those things happen to devices. So when you're thinking about what kind of device is right for your child, please remember that these are 6th graders and accidents happen with devices. So the price point really matters, and that's going to be a family decision for you. Sometimes accidents happens with devices at school, and the school is not responsible for damage to devices. So be aware of that when you're thinking of the price point. Mr. Grossman.
Good evening. So like Ms. Chekowitz said, from 6th to 12th grade, students are responsible to bring their own device to school each day. As she explained, because we use Google Chrome extensions, our program is able to support Chromebooks, MacBooks, Windows laptops, but we're not able to support iPads or other tablets, as she explained, devices that don't have that attached keyboard. All your child is logged into their Chromebook or into a Chrome browser with their school email, the extensions are automatically applied to their device. A couple examples of these extensions that we use for security, classroom management would be the Go Guardian extension. That's one used by teachers for classroom management during the day. Also Securely, which is our internet filter. You can find out a lot more information about both of these on the link here, where it is BYOD link for more information, or going to the middle school webpage under school resources, BYOD. Additionally, starting this fall, for those who have a Chromebook, we're going to be introducing an additional product for parents called Securely Home. This allows parents to sign up for an account which is linked to their student's email, and it allows the parents to see web activity while the student is both at school or at home. And last, we do recognize, as Ms. Chekowitz said, it can be difficult to make a decision about the best devices. So we also have links for choosing the right Chromebook, that there are a lot of different models. I am also always happy to answer questions. If somebody does want to email, my contact is in the at the end of this slideshow. And if you have a device that you're looking about and want my opinion, I have answered many of those questions. So happy to be of help.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we discussed the Bridge to Six program, and another opportunity for our incoming sixth graders, which we highly, highly recommend, is our web orientation. We are working on our date. We are looking at the week of the 17th or 18th, so we can add that once it comes. We just want to make sure that we're solidifying everything. But it is 2 weeks typically before school starts. What it is an amazing opportunity for all of the sixth graders to get into the building, and it is led by our teachers. Actually, Mr. Foster's on this call and is one of our web teacher leaders. And then it is run by student leaders as eighth graders. So we're partnering up our eighth graders with our new incoming sixth graders. And web doesn't stop just on our orientation day. It goes throughout our school year with different events that they put on, and trying to connect with our sixth graders and touching base with our seventh graders as well. But it's a great opportunity. It's like a big hoorah to start off our school year. And it's also where they will get their pictures taken and pick up their schedules with their teacher placement. So more information to come on that. We will get a save the date out as soon as we have that solidified. We are waiting on our official calendar from Saline Area Schools district offices with our start date, and that's coming out very soon as well. But it's a wonderful opportunity. The web, it stands for Where Everybody Belongs, and it is a strong curriculum and a very lengthy training that our teachers go through. But it's so amazing to build those relationships and foster success for incoming students. Mr. Foster, did you want to add anything else?
I thought that was great. The orientation is, it's about a 2 to 3 hour program that your students will be running through. Usually it runs from about 8 a.m. until around 11 a.m. or so. Again, we'll get you those dates when we can. And, you know, the one big thing is that every student entering sixth grade leaves feeling really, really comfortable about the building, about the staff. They get to see all of their friends back after it's been the summer. It's just a great way to come back, not only into a new building, but into the new school year.
We're also very accommodating on that day as well. So if your student needs, significant supports and or additional assistance throughout the regular school day, for example, a student on an IEP, we do provide that support as well on web, because we really do want everybody to be able to participate. And I'd be remiss to not say that. Oop, clicked on 2 different links there. All right. So we've got some things that we're going to get excited about, right, Mrs. Chekowitz?
You got it. So what's left for you to think about? Get excited. So students, I'm talking to you, and parents, if you're here, please share this with your student. So when your student is, oh, you're right, you're coming to the big leagues. This is secondary school now. It's a bigger building, and we expect a higher level of responsibility. So when we think about that PBIS, be responsible. Yes, we are expecting you to be responsible, be respectful, be kinder than necessary. And we have a higher level of expectation for your student here in our school. And as a result of that higher level, there are amazing opportunities that we provide to your student and for your student. Things like our 6th grade kickball classic, our project-based learning about national parks, picking your own seat at lunch and being able to eat. And I also have to tell you, there are some pretty amazing lunch choices in our cafeteria. So you're going to get to have different opportunities. Like we have some slushes. I don't know if they have that at Heritage. I know they didn't at Woodland Meadows. So again, we up the ante a little bit by providing a more grown-up experience, a more mature experience. And the expectation is that you up the ante on your end in terms of your ability to be responsible, respectful, and kinder than necessary to earn those things. And again, of course, that Chicago trip. This is that first time to head out for an overnight trip. You'll be in a hotel room. You get to see the city of Chicago. Amazing opportunities. And that web day in August, that is an outstanding opportunity to come and have some fun here at the middle school. So there is lots to look forward to here at SMS.
Awesome. Thank you. I am pumped. I got to go on Chicago. It's my first trip as an administrator last year. And boy, did we have some fun. It was a jam-packed experience. And it was the first year we went to Chicago, and it was a lot of fun. I see a typo. I was trying to get to Mr. Stimmick to fix it. And I don't know if he was checking his text messages. We do have a typo on this slide for frequently asked questions. And that is, when do I find out who my teacher is? This is last year's date. Our apologies. Our date that you will be finding out your teacher placement will be on our web orientation date. And that is to be determined still, but we will be getting out information soon. So my apologies for the typo. I was putting Mr. Stimmick on the spot and he wasn't quick enough on the text message. You look at a slide deck enough and you think you're good, and then you find mistakes. But here at the middle school, we fix our mistakes. So.
And it's past 7 o'clock, so things slow down in this old brain of mine. So sorry about that, Mrs. G.
Hey, no problem. No problem. I put you on the spot. So is there recess? Absolutely. There is recess here at Saline Middle School for 6th grade. Now the 7th graders and 8th graders, they still are rallying for recess, but we keep them in their classes a little bit longer. But that is not to say that we don't provide them access to outside activities and structured lessons that take place outside. And then what is lunch like? So there are 6th graders and 7th graders in the same lunch. We do have them sitting away from each other. So they're not intermingling grade wise, but they are in the space at the same time, and they're in the lunch lines at the same time. But we ask 6th grade to sit on one side and 7th grade to sit on the other, and they get to pick their seats. The really cool thing here at Saline Middle School are all the choices. The kids, and really this is more for parents right now, the kids get pretty excited that there are snack options such as ice cream. I didn't want to announce that to too many kids. I see Mr. Stimmick's hand going up. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to let our listeners know that I polled some of our new 6th graders who arrived here throughout the course of the year, at the beginning of the year. And about Saline Middle School, and the majority of them all, right, the first thing they identified as being one of the most positive things is the lunch menu and all the options and the taste of the food. So props to food service.
Yes. But I would be remiss, parents, not to mention that we do offer free and reduced lunch here at Saline Middle School if you apply for that and you get that application in. But the snacks that we're talking about, the ice cream and or the slushies, those are extra. And so have a conversation with your students prior to coming to the middle school, because they can rack up a bill pretty quickly. And sometimes kids like to buy other kids' snacks. So just have a conversation with your child. You can always set a limit, but sometimes they go a little wild those first couple weeks because they're being given access to things that they haven't had in the past. So, but it's kind of fun to see their excitement when they go down and they see a slushy machine. So it's just kind of fun. So what if I get lost is another question. Sixth grade teachers, like I mentioned earlier, do walk their classes to lunch and electives for the first week. And then students, the sixth graders, they move as a pack. You know when they're coming, you can hear them, you can smell them, you can see them, and they come in a giant pack down the hallway, and they are amazing. And it's so exciting to see them because they're like, whoo, I get off the carpet for a little bit, and then they make their way back to the carpet. So they're great, and they'll figure it out, but teachers help in those first couple of weeks. Also, we have had about 35 questions that have already been answered in the Q&A, which is amazing. We have a couple of questions that are still being answered. I see that everybody, there's a question that Mrs. Chekowitz and I can answer. Is there anything done by the school administration to try to facilitate and continue the friendships or social connections made during lower grades? Absolutely. One thing you can do is continue to fill out that parent input form. On the parent input form, you have access to typing in students that you would like to keep your kids with, or students that you may think that it would be best to keep separated for various reasons. And then we always, again, no promises, but we do go through those preferences with a fine-tooth comb and try to make magic happen. We also can do that by fostering friendships and social connections at lunch. And then also our clubs and organizations, and then our counselors also are helping promote and continue those friendships. And
I'm going to jump in and just add to that. Lunch is a really important piece of that. So our cafeteria has about 400 children in it for each lunch period. And with the freedom to sit by friends and to find a space, even if their desired friend or best friend is not in their classroom with them, they always have that lunch opportunity where they can sit with them, have some downtime, chit chat, share, have some ice cream together. So that's another really great opportunity. And also at recess, they may be out at recess together and interact. So they are still having those opportunities outside of just their homeroom where they can interact with their peers.
Yeah, and if I could jump in there really quick, that is a really big concern that students and parents have as they, as you enter any new building, when it comes to school. And speaking for all of the sixth grade teachers, we really work hard to notice how friendships are being built, try to locate any students that we feel may not be having the smoothest social transition that's possible. And we work really hard with all the students to try to make sure that it's the smoothest transition socially that it can be. We try to put some things in place if we feel like someone is struggling socially during that first month or so. And just please know that the teachers are really looking for that in that first month of school.
We've had a couple of questions about how long is recess, and it's about 15-20 minutes. As Mr. Lucas Foster, I just called you Mr. Lucas Foster because I'm reading your name. It is a little bit longer if it's super nice out, but what's been awesome to see is that the sixth grade teachers are constantly trying to get kids to engage in group activities outside at recess too, such as kickball, Mr. Foster, and others. They were advocating for soccer nets, and so we've got a couple of those out there. So it's pretty nice to see them get involved. Foursquare is a big deal. Trying to think, we don't have a Gaga pit, but we do have basketball hoops. So yeah, all righty. It doesn't look like there's any other questions open. I think we had one attendee at some point raise their hand, but I think we're going to keep on moving to the end. If there's any other last minute questions, go ahead and get those in the chat for us. So our walkthrough has been determined for all of you, and that's going to be 2023. So this is just a true open house style where there will be a couple classrooms open if we can get a couple of teachers in to show their spaces, but really it's just a time to walk through the building. There's no expectations. We won't be putting on a huge presentation or anything like that. It's just a walkthrough for you to be able to get in the building with your youngster and join us. The first day of school is still to be determined. And then we did fix the date here. Our estimated date is August 27th or August 17th of 2023, but we will be sending out more information in regard to making sure that it is the exact date based on our school calendar.
All right, contact information. If you have questions or think of something later on, please feel free to reach out to us. You'll see mine, Mrs. Chekowitz. My email address is up first. To the right of mine is our amazing assistant principal, Mrs. Gettner, followed by our amazing counselors, Mr. Stimick and Ms. Chambers. And you can also use the Let's Talk app on our school district website to ask your questions, and we'll be happy to get back with you that way.
It takes your partnership to provide a robust education for our children. And so the fact that you are here this evening, there are 41 questions that have been answered. Keep them coming. We're always available to answer questions and or concerns, and it takes all of us. And so thank you so much for participating in the Q&A as well.
All right. So remember, you can follow us on social media and just see what it's all about as we're tweeting things out and putting things out all the time. So our Twitter handle is @MiddleSaline. And our amazing assistant principal has a Twitter account @LynnSGettner. Our Facebook account is SMS Saline Middle School, and our Instagram, Saline_MS. So follow us on social media and see what it's all about. Thank you for joining us tonight. We really look forward to having your student with us next year. Have a great evening.